Okay. Testing, 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 testing. Okay. See if it works. It's not working. It's not working. Testing, 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 testing. Testing, testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Is this working? Damn it. This recording. Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Is this working? Okay, I'm gonna play Pokemon Unite. A lot of people say I'm gonna play against some NPCs because like you get some like you get like a limited Unite license. You get the I need the license points to unlock more characters, so I'm gonna play a solo game. But typically ranked games are harder. I'd say against NPCs is pretty fucking easy. So I'm gonna maybe try Darkrai because I recently got Darkrai and I spent like what 500 gems to get it. So I'm gonna try a Darkrai. Oh, use rental hollowware. Limited hollowware. Okay, try Darkrai. It's a speed set too, so I typically recently I've gotten into usually Leafeon. Oh cool, there's Mega Lucario on my team. See if I can make an interesting video. B, okay. Start. Oh, this is really zoomed in. If I zoom out. Oh yeah, this will work. It's too zoomed in. Oh shit, this random haunter came out of nowhere. Damn it. It's not that good, Darklight. Damn it. Oh. Guess Mewtwo's the main boss of this one. Damn it. Ooh. Rapping videos? Okay. I'm not a professional rapper, but sure. I made them in 2024 though. I turned off the freaking podcast too though. You liked it? Oh, I liked it. Okay. Yeah, I made it a while ago. I tried to do deep, deep voice raps. struggling to keep up.
Audience, and as you can see, I'm still trying to monetize hope.
Yeah, you look like you're in great shape.
I'm doing great. Last time
Any sort of youth serum things going on or what?
it's our longevity X Prize. We're getting there.
Okay.
We're getting there. And I think in our last conversation, you're getting on board with the idea of extended longevity. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll leave it at that.
Some degree. I mean, like, I don't know if we want everyone to live forever or whatever, but I think health span and not, having an extended period of senescence where you're just dwindling yourself sounds like a good idea. We want to avoid that.
Yeah. So first off, congratulations on the merger of SpaceX and XAI, baller move. Going to power humanity's first Dyson swarm. So I'm curious. It truly is. What's your timeline for launching these data centers, and how much bandwidth do you think you can get in the first year? Give us a sense of the speed at which you're going to be making this happen.
So SpaceX is, SpaceX is in the quiet period. I can't actually things that we're so called.
I'll leave it at that. I appreciate that. But can't wait for the speed. You know, we had a conversation here on Monday with Eric Schmidt and with one of the leads from one of the other hyperscalers, I won't mention who, but I'm curious where you feel we are in recursive self-improvement. Are we there? Do you see Grok doing recursive self-improvement at this point? And what's the timeline for AGI and ASI? Give us a sense of that.
Yeah, I think we've been in recursive improvement for a while here. If you mean by like recursive self-improvement without a human in the loop, is that what you mean?
I do. On the AI software side.
I mean, humans are gradually getting less and less in the loop on the recursive self-improvement. So every successive model is built by the one before it. So that is happening to a large degree, but it's not yet fully automated. It may be there end of this year, but not later than next year.
Do you see a hard takeoff at that point?
We're in the hard take.
Okay.
Right now.
Yes.
I mean, look at at this point, I go to sleep, there's some massive AI breakthrough, and when I wake up, there's another one.
Yes.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track, honestly. It's a bit of a head spinner.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of the head spinning is happening from you, too.
Yeah. Well, Grok's doing pretty well, and by some metrics, it's the best. For example, it's the best at predicting things, which is arguably the best metric for intelligence. The new Grok 4.20 is really good. We're currently behind on coding. The reason I was a bit late for this was that I was just in a giant sort of all hands on coding, just going through all of the things that need to happen to essentially catch up and exceed our competitors on coding, which I think we'll do. I feel we should probably get there by the middle of this year. And then I think people don't quite understand just how much intelligence there will be, or just how far it will exceed human intelligence to a degree that is impossible to fully understand. But you can certainly imagine a situation where let's say 1 million times more energy is harnessed than all of Earth's current electricity usage, that would still only be roughly a million with the sun's energy output. So essentially, if you increase the Earth's economy by a factor of a million, it's still roughly a trillion. Since we're a trillionth of the sun's energy, if you increase Earth's economy in terms of electricity usage by roughly a million, you'll be roughly 1 millionth only of the sun's energy harnessed. But what is an economy or an intelligence using a million times more electricity than all of Earth's civilization think about or look like or do? It's going to be something pretty magnificent. The challenge will be even vaguely appreciating that level of intelligence. But it's safe to say it will solve everything you can possibly think of.
Yes.
Longevity being, certainly one of them. I do enjoy.
I'm alright.
I'm
I'm
really
just
being optimistic.
playing this damn fucking game.
Thank you, Cal.
I see if you've
Hope.
yeah, exactly. You've taken to heart monetizing hope, which is pretty funny.
Oh,
It was
maybe you can try it. It's not that addictive.
Brock's marketing advice to me when you roasted
Right, okay. Welcome to listening and saying you monetize hope. But hey, if you've been it's better than monetizing misery, I suppose.
For sure.
So, yeah. But yeah, just when you have AI and robots are gonna increase the economic output, or by so many orders of magnitude, we cannot possibly comprehend.
We're likely in a very short time to become a minority, then a vast minority, then a microscopic minority of intelligence on the planet.
Yes, not even on this planet, but within the solar system.
Yes.
Sure, because your best case outcome for Earth for intelligence is roughly 1 billionth of the sun's energy. That's your best case outcome. If you generate intelligence only on Earth.
Intercept it, right?
Yes. It's roughly half a billion for the sun's energy hits Earth, and that's the vast majority of energy that's out there. But that would be access. Really, the intelligence in the solar system will be many orders of magnitude greater than the intelligence on Earth itself.
Let me ask you a question, Elon. How far out can you see? How many years out can you make reasonable predictions right now?
It's hard to predict the path exactly, especially because often things are kind of an S curve or a series of S curves where it starts off slow, goes exponentially, hits linear zone, and then goes larger and more. That generally has been what I've seen with the breakthroughs in AI. AI, for example, is there'll be some breakthrough it'll do have an S curve, and then it looks like it's just going to go to infinity, but then you get logarithmic returns until it's not a breakthrough.
Yeah.
So progress in AI is just a sort of series of sort of overlapping S curves, connected S curves.
You win.
You could probably predict out a decade or 2 decades. What are your thoughts now?
Yeah.
A single battle.
Audience, and as you can see, I'm still trying to monetize hope.
Yeah, you look like you're in great shape.
I'm doing great. Well, that's
Is there any sort of youth serum things going on, or what?
It's our longevity X Prize. We're getting there, buddy.
Okay.
We're getting there. And I think in our last conversation, you're getting on board with the
Pokemon Ruby, what's up, Pokemon Ruby?
Yes.
Pokemon Ruby.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll leave it at that.
Some degree. I mean, I don't know if we want everyone to live forever or whatever, but I think health span and not having an extended period of
Maybe you can try this game. This is not. It's not that addictive.
So first off, congratulations on the merger of SpaceX and XAI, baller move. Going to power humanity's first Dyson swarm. So
Yeah.
I'm curious. It truly is. What's your timeline for launching these data centers, and how much bandwidth do you think you can get in the first year? Give us a sense of the speed at which you're going to be making this happen.
Yeah. So SpaceX is has filed.
Axel.
SpaceX is in the quiet period. I can't actually tell you things that were voice of. Yeah.
Oh. I'll leave it. I'll leave it that. I appreciate that, but can't wait for the speed. You know, we had a conversation here on Monday with Eric Schmidt and with one of the leads from one of the other hyperscalers. I won't mention who, but I'm curious where you feel we are in recursive self-improvement. Are we there? Do you see Grok doing recursive self-improvement at this point? And what's the timeline for AGI and ASI? Give us a sense of that.
Yeah, I think we've been in recursive improvement for a while here. If you mean by like recursive self-improvement without a human in the loop, is that what you mean?
I do. On the AI software side.
Yeah, I mean, humans are gradually getting less and less in the loop on the recursive self-improvement. So every successive model is built by the one before it. So that is happening for large degrees, but it's not yet fully automated. It may be there end of this year, but not later than next year.
Do you see a hard takeoff at that point?
We're in the hard takeoff
Okay.
right now.
Yes.
I mean, it's I mean, at this point, I go to sleep. There's some massive AI breakthrough, and when I wake up, there's another one.
Yes.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track, honestly. It's a
Yeah.
bit of a head spinner.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of the head spinning is happening from you too.
Yeah. Well, you know, Grok's doing pretty well, and in some metrics, by some metrics, it's the best. For example, it's the best at predicting things, which, you know, is arguably the best metric for intelligence. The new Grok 4.20 is really good. We're currently behind on coding. The reason I was a bit late for this was that I was just in a giant sort of all hands on coding, just going through all of the things that need to happen to essentially catch up and exceed our competitors on coding, which I think we'll do. I feel, you know, we should probably get there by the middle of this year. And then I think people don't quite understand just how much intelligence there will be, or, you know, just how far it will exceed human intelligence to a degree that is impossible to fully understand. But you can certainly imagine a situation where let's say 1 million times more energy is harnessed than all of Earth's current electricity usage. That would still only be roughly 1 millionth of the sun's energy output. So essentially, if you increase the Earth's economy by a factor of 1 million, it's still roughly a trillion. Since we're a trillionth of the sun's energy, if you increase Earth's economy in terms of electricity usage by roughly 1 million, you will be roughly 1 million only of the sun's energy. What is an economy or an intelligence using 1 million times more electricity than all of Earth's civilization? Think about what we'll plant or do. It's going to be something pretty magnificent. The challenge will be even vaguely appreciating that level of intelligence. But it's safe to say it will solve everything you can possibly think of.
Yes.
Longevity being, you know, certainly one of them. I do enjoy your unrelenting optimism.
Thank you, pal.
I see you.
My- Hope.
Yeah, exactly. You've taken to heart monetizing Hope, which is pretty funny.
It was
Coming up with that one.
It was Grok's marketing advice to me when you roasted me on.
Right,
Okay.
okay. Probably going to see and saying you monetize Hope. But hey, if you're going to it's better than monetizing misery, I suppose.
Yes, for sure.
So, yeah. But yeah, just we have AI and robots are gonna increase the economic output, or by so many orders of magnitude, we cannot possibly comprehend.
We're likely in a very short time to become a minority, then a vast minority, then a microscopic minority of intelligence on this planet.
Yes, not even on this planet, but in the solar system.
Yes, sure.
Because, your best case outcome for Earth for intelligence is roughly 1 billionth of the sun's energy. That's your best case outcome. If you generate intelligence only on Earth.
Intercepted, right?
Yes, because roughly half a billion of the sun's energy hits Earth, and that's the vast majority of energy that's out there. But that would be in excess. Really, the intelligence in the solar system will be many orders of magnitude greater than the intelligence out of itself.
Let me ask you a question, Elon. How far out can you see? How many years out can you make reasonable predictions right now?
It's hard to predict the path exactly, especially because often things are kind of an S curve, or a series of S curves where it starts off slow, goes exponentially, hits linear zone, and then goes logarithmic. That generally is what I've seen with the breakthroughs in AI. AI, for example, is there'll be some breakthrough, it'll do have an S curve, and then it looks like it's just going to go to infinity, but then you hit logarithmic returns until there's another breakthrough.
Yeah.
So progress in AI is just a sort of series of sort of overlapping S curves, connected S curves.
I mean, there was a point where you could probably predict out a decade, 2 decades. What are your thoughts now?
Yeah. Okay, this is gonna sound pretty crazy.
That's okay. We've been talking about crazy.
You're a receptive audience to wild prognostications.
Yes.
I'd say the economy is 10 times its current size in 10 years. Greater than.
Okay. Yeah, you
Really saying something.
Yeah, you said triple-digit growth in 5+ years from now on GDP and 10x the economy. But in terms
I
of
should get some sleep. Yeah.
That's a 10x in roughly 10 years. I feel is actually a fairly comfortable prediction. There's like World War III or something that could put a kink in those plans or those expectations.
Yeah.
But in the absence of World War III, if current trends continue, I would say the economy tanks in 10 years.
Love it. Give us we had a bunch
And
of.
we'll have a base on the moon.
Yes. And we'll have
people on Mars.
we'll have mass drivers on the moon. Yes.
I think so. In 10 years, I think we'll have a mass driver on the moon.
I love it. Gerard K. O'Neill's vision being fulfilled. We had 4 robots on stage here this year at the Abundance Summit. I look forward to Optimus. I'm curious, Optimus 3 timeline, and in particular, when can I buy 1 or 2? When do you expect Optimus to go into commercial sale, or will you be leasing it?
final stages of completion of Optimus 3, which is really going to be by far the most advanced robot in the world, not exceeding close.
Yeah.
In fact, I haven't even seen any demos of robots that are as good as Optimus 3, frankly. Maybe they're out there for secret or something. I have to make sure I'm saying things that are reasonably public as well, of course.
Good. We're streaming this on X.
Okay, so this is pretty public.
Yes.
I think we'll start production on Optimus 3 this summer, but very slow at first. Like it's kind of the sort of classic S-curve ramp of manufacturing units versus time. And then probably reach high volume production around summer next year. And then we'll have Optimus 4, design complete next year. We try to release a new robot design every year, a first robot design every year.
When Dave Blundin and I were at the Gigafactory, it was an extraordinary experience, 11.5 million square feet for the Tesla. And then I think you said you're building out 9.5 million square feet for Optimus there as well, which is extraordinary. Let's.
It's 10 million square feet round numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll be quite. That's going to be a new factory design too. Like it's not different from other factories.
How far before we have robots building robots? I mean, you automated so much of the Gigafactory already, where there are humans playing a small role. Do the robots just play the role that humans are playing in that regard?
We still have a lot of humans building things. Tesla direct employees who are building things, or like basically people in the factory or either building or managing people in the building, is roughly 100,000. So we're a lot of people. So that's one of the accounts around 150K, of which 2/3 are, in the factory. And then also the planners, is probably maybe 1 million, 2 million people, and suppliers. So it's a lot of people. What we do expect is that the output per person at Tesla becomes very, very high.
Yeah.
So we're not planning any layoffs or positions that we will increase our headcount. But the output per human at Tesla is going to get very high.
When we were together, we discussed the idea of sustainable abundance on our podcast, and you reinforced the idea that we have a coming age of universal high income, which has become a point of discussion beyond UBI. But I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts on how we get there. Have you reflected on that any further? And more so, we talked about the time frame of civil unrest, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, probably a lot of COVID-like checks in the interim until we get to a demonetization and a deflation that leads us to UHI. Any more reflections on that? People need that hope and that vision.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't think we should be sort of complacent. We do need to be careful because the future is a range of possible outcomes, and they're not all ready. But at this point, I do agree with you that it's likely to be great. It's probably 80% likely, maybe more likely to be great. And I do think we'll have universal high income. We'll basically just issue money to people, and be really just because the output of goods and services will so far exceed the money supply that that effectively you have deflation. Deflation is just the ratio of the outputs of goods and services to the money supply. So if the rate of growth of goods and services far exceeds the rate of growth of the money supply, which I predict will happen, then you will have deflation.
Yes. and a lot of people spinning up new companies, competing against each other, driving the price down, and increasing the variability and deflation faster and faster.
Yeah, it's basically the AI and robots are going to make so much stuff and provide so many services that they will actually run out of things to do for the humans. They'll just run out of things to do for the humans, and then there's only so much that humans can even express that they want. So you go back to my example of like, if you go 1 million times greater than the Earth's economy, you've long since saturated all human desire. Like maybe like if you go 1,000 times more than our current economy, 1,000 times, you probably already saturated humans anything people can think of that they want.
So do you think the value of money is going to significantly decrease? Will we go post-capitalist?
Yeah, I think money will stop being relevant at some point in the future.
So just as you're becoming
it's probably something like an in-banks culture sort of future. And I think the AI down the road will really not use human currency. It will just care about
We'll come back.
power and mass, wattage and tonnage.
It's kind of ironic then, right? Just as you're becoming a multi-trillionaire, money starts to have less value.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. There's all this stuff. It's really just trillionaire just represents like some percentage ownership in companies that I built. It's not like sitting in the bank account. It's just literally I own a percentage of the companies. The companies are doing lots of useful things. The value of the company grows. I own a percentage of the companies, and that's sums up to that number, which seems high.
Yeah. I was interviewed by somebody who was asking me about your drive, what drives you, and I said, Elon's driven to solve problems. He's driven to make life in the world better by just solving the biggest problems over and over and over again. And if someone else were solving them, he wouldn't need to. But no one else is solving them. So I just want to say thank you for that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I am curious, do you think that democracy and our modern institutions can keep up with this supersonic tsunami coming our way? Are they just going to fall in its way and just going to break down? How do we feel?
I mean, it's called the singularity for a reason, that it's hard to predict what happens in the singularity. I mean, Brock's logo is the singularity.
I love it. It's a beautiful logo behind you, by the way. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. It's the light, the halo around a black hole is the mass and light are flowing in. It's hard to know what happens inside the singularity. But it's going to be very interesting. Like, we're going to live in the future will be very entertaining. Of that I'm confident.
Yes.
I think also like AI and robotics also the only way we're going to solve our budget deficit, frankly, and not just go bankrupt as a country. So I'm you've had an influence on me in that I've just decided to be more optimistic. It's like we just should be more optimistic.
Thank you, pal.
And I wasn't an optimist, but I was like maybe dwelling a little too much on the negative stuff.
It's all upside being an optimist. And a realist a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to be complacent or just assume everything's going to go well, but try to make it go well. But I mean, there will be some pretty amazing things that happen. So if you've got humanoid robots that have very high dexterity and are incredibly smart, it means that everyone on Earth will have access to better medical care than the richest person on Earth. Which, by the way, I would say like allegedly the rich person or whatever. I think actually sovereigns are richer than me, by the way. But it's I had to have like a neck surgery 3 times because the first 2 ones were done wrong. I'm like, what the, so, and I like, my back still hurts a little bit. I'm like, can AI please solve back pain? That would be a huge win. And I think it will.
Yep.
So, back pain sucks. And I think that's maybe sometimes why do people get grumpy when they get older? It's because of back pain. It's back hurts all the time. You can't sleep well. You're gonna be grumpy.
We had David Sinclair on stage this morning, and he's going into human trials with ER100.
我直播才2个人，那算多吗？ 你说你自己， 你 Magnolia 来直播间就变满了，因为他好飞。哪里有能啊？没能啊。他这边说1个。
If you'll get back pain, it's when you'll get back pain.
I keep on inviting.
Not a good design.
I keep on inviting you to come down to Fountain Life in Dallas. We'll help you out, but sometime when you have time.
Well, you have like what do you? I understand like you can get like MRI and CAT scans and everything, but like what do you do with that? It's like.
Happy to send you the list. I'll DM you the list.
Secret serum or something.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, you've been so generous. Next up on stage with me is another great moonshot entrepreneur, Ben Lamb, who runs Colossal, the de-extinction company. The woolly mammoth and 15 other species.
为什么心情不好？
I heard you say you might want a mini woolly mammoth. Is that
因为你屁股没有洗很干净。
Okay, I'll put a word in for you with Ben.
That'd be adorable. Little things just running around, trumpeting away, and it's like, look at that. It's be a great little pet.
Amazing.
因为 Magnolia 的屁股没有洗干净，所以他心情不好。
It'd be super cool.
I think if anybody's going to do that, it's Ben Lamb and Colossal. He's engineering living.
Magnolia 怪别人，反正他屁股不干净，然后他怪别人。 自己屁股不干净，还说别人没帮他洗。
Well, Jurassic World, whatever, that would be great.
All right, I'll ask him.
Yeah.
Elon, so grateful for you coming and joining us and sharing. Thank you, my friend. Give it up for Elon Musk.
I'm playing with Darkrai. Playing with Darkrai. Darkrai 也没有那么好玩。
When do you see what you define as digital superintelligence?
Within 10 years. The AI's ability to generate its own scaffolding is imminent. Pretty much sure that will be a 2025 thing. We certainly don't know what superintelligence will deliver, but we know it's coming.
And what do people need to know about that?
You're going to have your own polymath. So you're going to have the sum of Einstein and Leonardo da Vinci in the equivalent of your pocket. Agents are going to happen. This math thing is going to happen. The software thing is going to happen. Everything I've talked about is in the positive domain. But there's a negative domain as well. It's likely, in my opinion, that you're going to see
Everybody, welcome to Moonshots. I'm here live with my Moonshot mate, Dave London. We're here in our Santa Monica studios, and we have a special guest today, Eric Schmidt, the author of Genesis. We talk about China. We're going to talk about, digital superintelligence. We'll talk about, what people should be thinking about over the 10 years.
We're talking about the guy who has more access to more actionable information than probably anyone else you could think of. So it should be pretty exciting.
Incredibly brilliant. All right, stand by for a conversation with the Eric Schmidt, CEO or past CEO of Google, and an extraordinary investor and thinker in this field of AI.
Let's do it.
Eric, welcome back to Moonshots.
It's great to be here with you guys.
Thank you. It's been a long road since I first met you at Google. I remember our first conversations were fantastic. It's been a crazy month in the world of AI, but I think every month from here is going to be a crazy month. And so I'd love to hit on a number of subjects and get your take on them. I want to start with probably the most important point that you've made recently that got a lot of traction, a lot of attention, which is that AI is underhyped when the rest of the world is either confused, lost, or think it's not impacting us. We'll get into more detail, but quick, most important point to make there.
AI is a learning machine, and in network effect businesses, when the learning machine learns faster, everything accelerates. It accelerates to its natural limit. The natural limit is electricity.
Not chips.
Electricity.
Really? Okay.
So that gets me to the next point here, which is the discussion on AI and energy. So what we saw recently was Meta recently announcing that they signed a 20-year nuclear contract with Constellation Energy. We've seen Google, Microsoft, Amazon, everybody buying basically nuclear capacity right now. That's got to be weird that private companies are basically taking over into their own hands what was utility function before.
Well, just to be cynical, I'm so glad those companies plan to be around the 20 years that it's going to take to get the nuclear power plants built. In my recent testimony, I talked about the current expected need for the AI revolution in the United States is 92 gigawatts of more power. For reference, 1 gigawatt is one big nuclear power station, and there are none essentially being started now.
And there have been 2 in the last 30 years built.
There is excitement that there's an SMR, small modular reactor, coming in at 300 megawatts, but it won't start till 2030. As important as nuclear, both fission and fusion is, they're not going to arrive in time to get us what we need as a globe to deal with our many problems and the many opportunities that are before us.
Do you think, so if you look at the sort of 3-year timeline toward AGI, do you think if you started a fusion reactor project today that won't come online for 5, 6, 7 years, is there a probability that the AGI comes up with some other breakthrough, fusion or otherwise, that makes it irrelevant before it even gets online?
A very good question. We don't know what artificial general intelligence will deliver, and we certainly don't know what superintelligence will deliver, but we know it's coming. So first we need to plan for it, and there's lots of issues as well as opportunities for that. But the fact of the matter is that the computing needs that we need now are going to come from traditional energy suppliers in places like the United States and the Arab world and Canada and the Western world. And it's important to note that China has lots of electricity. So if they get the chips,
We have a huge lead.
They've been scaling it, at 2 or 3 times the U.S. The U.S. has been flat for how long in terms of energy production?
from my perspective, infinite. In fact, electricity demand declined for a while, as has overall energy needs, because of conservation and other things. But the data center story is the story of the energy people, right? And you sit there and you go, how could these data centers use so much power? Well, and especially when you think about how little power our brains do, well, these are our best approximation in digital form of how our brains work, but when they start working together, they become superbrains. The promise of a superbrain with a 1 gigawatt, for example, data center is so palpable, people are going crazy. And by the way, the economics of these things are unproven. How much revenue do you have to have 50 billion in capital? Well, if you depreciate it over 3 years or 4 years, you need to have 10 or 15 billion dollars of capital spend per year just to handle the infrastructure. These are huge businesses and huge revenue, which in most places is not there yet.
I'm curious, there's so much capital being invested and deployed right now in SMRs and in nuclear, bringing 3 Mile Island back online, in fusion companies. Why isn't there an equal amount of capital going into making the entire chipset and compute just 1,000 times more energy efficient?
There is a similar amount. going in capital, there are many startups that are working on non-traditional ways of doing chips. The transformer architecture, which is what is powering things today, has new variants. Every week or so, I get a pitch from a new startup that's going to build inference time, test time, computing, which are simpler, and they're optimized for inference. It looks like the hardware will arrive just as the software needs expand. And by the way, that's always been true. We old timers had a phrase, Grove giveth and Gates take it away. So Intel would improve the chipsets, right, way back when.
Yeah.
And the software people would immediately use it all.
Yeah.
And suck it all up. And I have no reason to believe that law, Grove and Gates law, has changed. Yeah. If you look at the gains in like the Blackwell chip or the the 350 chip in AMD, these chips are massive supercomputers, and yet we need, according to the people, have hundreds of thousands of these chips just to make a data center work. That shows you the scale of what this kind of thinking algorithms. Now you sit there and you go, what could these people possibly be doing with all of these chips? I'll give you an example. We went from language to language, which is what ChatGPT can be understood at, to reasoning and thinking. If you want to look at an OpenAI example, look at OpenAI 03, which does forward and back reinforcement learning and planning. Now, the cost of doing the forward and back is many orders of magnitude besides just answering your question for your PhD thesis or your college paper. Planning the back and forth is computationally very expensive. So with the best energy and the best technology today, we are able to show evidence of planning. Many people believe that by combine planning and very deep memories, you can build human-level intelligence. Now, of course, it will be very expensive to start with, but humans are very industrious, and furthermore, the great future companies will have AI scientists, that is non-human scientists, AI programmers, that is opposed to human programmers, who will accelerate their impact. So if you think about it, going back to, you're the author of the abundance thesis, as best I can tell, Peter. You've talked about this for 20 years. You saw it first. It sure looks like if we get enough electricity, we can generate the power in the sense of intellectual power to generate abundance along the lines that you predicted 2 decades ago.
Every week, I study the 10 major tech metatrends that will transform industries over the decade ahead. I cover trends ranging from humanoid robots, AGI, quantum computing, transport, energy, longevity, and more. No fluff. Only the important stuff that matters, that impacts our lives and our careers. If you want me to share these with you, I write a newsletter twice a week, sending it out as a short 2-minute read via email. And if you want to discover the most important meta trends 10 years before anyone else, these reports are for you. Readers include founders and CEOs from the world's most disruptive companies and entrepreneurs building the world's most disruptive companies. It's not for you if you don't want to be informed of what's coming, why it
有
matters.
有鸭肉，我给一点。
已经不要，
不要了，快睡觉了。关于那些辣头地嘛。
That's dmandis.com/metatrends
辣
to gain access to trends 10
为什么？
years before anyone else.
Let me throw some numbers at you just to reinforce what you said. We have a couple companies in the lab that are doing voice customer service, voice sales, just as of the last month. And the value of these conversations is $10 to $1,000. And the cost of the compute is, maybe 2-3 concurrent GPUs.
我说为什么？
It's like 10, 20 cents. And so they would buy massively more compute to improve the quality of the conversation. There aren't even close to enough. We count about 10 million concurrent phone calls that should move to AI in the next year or so.
And my view of that is that's a good tactical solution and a great business. Let's look at other examples of tactical solutions that are great businesses.
因为麦克罗尼的屁股洗得不够干净，所以他觉得他屁股不够干净，他屁股不干净。
Have a completely fully served enterprise offering for essentially automating your company with AI. And the remarkable thing, and this is to me is shocking, is you can in an enterprise write the tasks that you want, and then using something called context protocol, you can connect your databases to that, and the large language model can produce the code for your enterprise. There's 100,000 enterprise software companies, middleware companies that grew up in the last 30 years that I've been working on this, that are all now in trouble because that interstitial connection is no longer needed. And of course they'll have to change as well. The good news for them is enterprises make these changes very slowly. If you built a brand new enterprise architecture for ERP and MRP, you would be highly tempted to not use any of the ERP or MRP suppliers, but instead use open source libraries, build essentially use BigQuery or the equivalent from Amazon, which is Redshift, and essentially build that architecture, and it gives you infinite flexibility, and the computer system writes most of the code. Now, programmers don't go away at the moment. It's pretty clear that junior programmers go away, the sort of journeyman, if you will, of the stereotype. Because these systems aren't good enough yet to automatically write all the code. They need very senior computer scientists, computer engineers who are watching it. That will eventually go away. One of the things to say about productivity, and I call this the San Francisco consensus because it's largely the people who operate in San Francisco, goes something like this. We're just about to the point where we can do two things that are shocking. The first is we can replace most programming tasks by computers, and we can replace most mathematical tasks by computers. And you sit there and you go, why? Well, if you think about programming and math, they have limited language sets compared to human language. So they're simpler computationally, and they're scale-free. You can just do it and do it and do it with more electricity. You don't need data. You don't need real-world input. You don't need telemetry. You don't need sensors.
Yeah.
So it's likely, in my opinion, that you're going to see world-class
Special
mathematicians
selection.
emerge in the next 1 year that are AI-based, and world-class programmers are going to appear within the next 1 or 2 years. When those things are deployed at scale, remember, math and programming are the basis of kind of everything, right?
Yep.
It's an accelerant for physics, chemistry, biology, material science. So going back to things like climate change, can you imagine if we, and this goes back to your original argument, Peter, imagine if we can accelerate the discoveries of the new materials that allow us to deal with a carbonized world. Right? It's very exciting.
You'd love to drill in.
Okay,
You first.
I just want to hit this because it's important. The potential for there to be, I don't want to use the word PhD level, other than thinking in terms of researchers, the PhD level AIs that can basically attack any problem and solve it, and solve math, if you would, and physics. This idea of an AI intelligence explosion. Leopold put that at 26, 27, heading towards digital superintelligence in the next few years. Do you buy that time frame?
So again, I consider that to be the San Francisco consensus. I think the dates are probably off by 1.5 or 2 times, which is pretty close. So a reasonable prediction is that we're going to have specialized savants in every field within 5 years. That's pretty much in the bag as far as I'm concerned. And here's why. You have this amount of humans, and then you add 1 million AI scientists to do something, your slope goes like this, your rate of improvement, we should get there. The real question is, once you have all these savants, do they unify? Do they ultimately become a superhuman? The term we're using is superintelligence, which implies intelligence that beyond the sum of what humans can do. The race to superintelligence, which is incredibly important. Because imagine what a superintelligence could do that we ourselves cannot imagine, right? It's so much smarter than we. And it has huge proliferation issues, competitive issues, China versus the US issues, electricity issues, so forth. We don't even have the language for the deterrence aspects and the proliferation issues of these powerful models.
The imagination.
Totally agree. In fact, it's one of the great flaws actually in the original conception. Remember Singularity University and Ray Kurzweil's books and everything, and we kind of drew this curve of rat level intelligence, then cat, then monkey, and then it hits human, and then it goes super intelligent. But it's now really obvious when you talk to one of these multilingual models that's explaining physics to you that it's already hugely super intelligent within its savant category. And so Dennis Hassabis keeps redefining AGI day as, well, when it can discover relativity the same way Einstein did with data that was available up until that date, that's when we have AGI.
So
Long before that.
yeah, so I think it's worth getting the timeline right.
Yeah.
So the following things are baked in. You're going to have an agentic revolution where agents are connected to solve business processes, government processes, and so forth. They will be adopted most quickly in companies that have a lot of money and a lot of time latency issues at stake. It will be adopted most slowly in places like government, which do not have an incentive for innovation, and fundamentally are job programs and redistribution of income kind of programs.
Mm-hmm.
So call it what you will. The important thing is that there will be a tip of the spear in places like financial services, certain kind of biomedical things, startups, and so forth, and that's the place to watch. So all of that is going to happen. The agents are going to happen, this math thing is going to happen, the software thing is going to happen. We can debate the rate at which the biological revolution will occur, but everyone agrees that it's right after. They were very close to these major biological understandings. In physics, you're limited by data, but you can generate it synthetically. There are groups which I'm funding, which are generating physics, essentially models that can approximate algorithms that they're incomputable. So in other words, you have essentially a foundation model that can answer the question good enough for the purposes of doing physics without having to spend 1 million years doing the computation of, quantum chromodynamics and things like that. All of that's going to happen. The next questions have to do with what is the point in which this becomes a national emergency? And it goes something like this. Everything I've talked about is in the positive domain, but there's a negative domain as well. The ability for biological attacks, obviously cyber attacks. Imagine a cyber attack that we as humans cannot conceive of, which means there's no defense for it, because no one ever thought about it, right? These are real issues. A biological attack, you take a virus, I won't obviously go into the details, you take a virus that's bad and you make it undetectable by some changes in its structure, which again, I won't go into the details. We released a whole report at the national level on this issue. So at some point, the government, and it doesn't appear to understand this now, is going to have to say, this is very big, because it affects national security, national economic strengths, and so forth. Now, China clearly understands this, and China is putting enormous amount of money into this. We have slowed them down by virtue of our chips control, but they've found other ways around this. There are also proliferation issues. Many of the chips that they're not supposed to have, they seem to be able to get. And more importantly, as I mentioned, the algorithms are changing. Instead of having these expensive foundation models by themselves, you have continuous updating test time training, that continuous updating appears to be capable of being done with lesser power chips. So there are so many questions that I think we don't know. We don't know the role of open source. Remember, open source means open weights, which means everyone can use it. A fair reading of this is that every country that's not in the West will end up using open source because they'll perceive it as cheaper, which transfers leadership of open source from America to China. That's a big deal. They're part of that. How much longer do the chip bans, if you will, hold, and how long before China can answer? What are the effects of the current government's policies of getting rid of foreigners and foreign investment? What happens with the Arab data centers, assuming they work? And I'm generally supportive of them. If those things are then misused to help train Chinese models, the list just goes on and on. We just don't know.
I can ask you probably one of the toughest questions. I don't know if you saw Mark recent. He went and talked to the Biden administration, to past administration, and said, how are we going to deal with exactly what you just talked about, chemical and biological and radiological and nuclear risks from big foundation models being operated by foreign countries? And the Biden answer was, we're going to keep it into the 3 or 4 big companies like Google, and we'll just regulate them. And Mark was like, that is a surefire way to lose the race with China, because all innovation comes from a startup that you didn't anticipate. It's just the American history, and you're cutting off the entrepreneur from participating in this. So as of right now, with the open source models, the entrepreneurs are already in great shape. But if you think about the models getting crazy smart a year from now, how are we going to have the balance between startups actually being able to work with the best technology, but proliferation not percolating to every country in the world?
Again, a set of unknown questions. Anybody who knows the answer to things is not going to sort through it. The doctrine in the Biden administration was called 10 to the 26 flops. It was a point, it was a consensus, above which the models were powerful enough to cause some damage. So the theory was that if you stayed below 10 to the 26, you needed to be regulated. But if you were above that, you needed to be regulated. And the proposal in the Biden administration was to regulate both the open source
Come back, welcome back,
that's the root of the summit. That, of course, has been ended by the Trump administration. They have not yet produced their own thinking in this area. They're very concerned about China and it getting forward, so they'll come out with something. From my perspective, the core questions are the following. Will the Chinese be able to use, even with chip restrictions, will they use architectural changes that will allow them to build models as powerful as ours? And let's assume they're government funded. That's the first question. The next question is, how will you raise $50 billion for your data center if your product is open source?
Yeah.
In the American model, part of the reason these models are closed is that the business people and the lawyers correctly are saying, I've got to sell this thing because I've got to pay for my capital. These are not free goods. And the US government, correctly, is not giving $50 billion to these companies. So we don't know that. To me, the key question to watch is look at DeepSeek. So DeepSeek, a week or so ago, Gemini 2.5 Pro got to the top of the leaderboards in intelligence.
Yeah.
Great achievement for my friends at Gemini. A week later, DeepSeek comes in and is slightly better than Gemini. And DeepSeek is trained on the existing hardware that's in China, which includes stuff that's been pilfered and some of the Ascend Huawei chips and a few others. What happens? Now, the US people say, well, the DeepSeek people cheated. And they cheated by doing a technique called distillation, where you take a large model and you ask it 10,000 questions, you get its answers, then you use that as your training material. So the US companies will have to figure out a way to make sure that their proprietary information that they've spent so much money on does not get leaked into these open source things. I just don't know. With respect to nuclear, biological, chemical, and so forth issues, the US companies are doing a really good job of looking for that. There's a great concern, for example, that nuclear information would leak into these models as they're training without us knowing. And by the way, that's a violation of law.
Oh, really?
They work, and the whole nuclear information thing is that there's no free speech in that world, for good reasons. And there's no free use and copyright and all that kind of stuff. It's illegal to do it. And so they're doing a really, really good job of making sure that doesn't happen. They also put in very significant tests for biological information and certain kinds of cyber attacks. What happens there? Their incentive is their incentive to continue, especially if it's not required by law. So the government has just gotten rid of the safety institutes that were in place in Biden, and they're replacing it by a new term, which is largely a safety assessment program, which is defining it. I think collectively we in the industry just want the government at the secret and top secret level to have people who are really studying what China and others are doing. You can be sure that China really has very smart people studying what we're doing. We, at the secret and top secret level, should have the same thing.
You read the AI 27 paper?
I have.
And so, for those listening who haven't read it, it's a future vision of the
今天是腊月18，你发我也发，那就祝我们八方好运满身旁，富贵堆满屋里藏，福运财运家中入，步步都是发财路。金满仓，银满仓，招财进宝又安。今天是腊月18。
Race to infinity, humanity vanished.
So the right outcome will ultimately be some form of deterrence and mutually assured infrastructure. I wrote a paper
对吗
on two other
叫那个
authors.
人去睡觉了。
刚才我已经讲
And we named it mutual AI function. And the idea was something like this.
Okay, you can go to bed. I'm going to bed too.
China, you had
Good night.
At some point, you cross the line.
我冇乜睇條邊度啦。
电梯啦。
我意思，你这
It's not
什么意
just
思？
words and yelling and an occasional shooting down the distance. It's a real threat to the identity of my country, my economic, what have you. Under this scenario, I would be highly